Good morning. I'm Charles Weir of Lancaster University, and I work with Lynn Blair, also of Lancaster, and with Ingolf Becker of UCL. We've recently had a good deal of success helping software developers to improve their cybersecurity. The quick summary of what we did goes as follows. We need developers to drive cybersecurity, and a good way to encourage them to do it is workshops in which they explore their security needs. We invented such workshops and used interviews before and after to show that the development teams who used them did indeed improve their security processes. Our research question asked what aspects of the intervention were most effective and why. You can find the full answers in the paper. Now in this talk, I'm going to focus on one aspect, the actual workshops themselves. Our Developer Security Essentials workshops consist of 5 steps that build on each other. Typically, we ran them either in a single day or over 2 days. The workshops don't involve much teaching. Oh no. Far more effective is for the participants themselves to learn by discussing. They apply structured workshop techniques to their own projects. We can think of the workshops as following the classic double diamond design process. A game helps the developers to understand what we're aiming to do. They then brainstorm a lot of threats, prioritize those threats to converge on a few to explore, figure out ways to address those threats, and promote solutions, finally measuring what we achieved as a result. And here's the kind of thing they involve. Originally, of course, these workshops were carried out in meeting rooms on whiteboards with post-it notes and in-person discussion. Now we've migrated them onto Miro boards and video chat breakout rooms. It seems to work better, actually. The first workshop is a card-based game, as you see here. Then participants brainstorm the threats using post-its and use dot voting to identify the most probable and damaging threats. Then we rearrange the post-its into a very simplistic risk-impact grid. And the participants then address the most important threats, figuring out ways to mitigate them and present them to product management. And here's what we achieved. I've summarized a year's work onto a single slide. The rows are activities, columns are organizations, bubble sizes show how much each team did with each activity, color shows how much that changed after the workshops. A really, really good outcome would be lots of big red dotted and yellow zigzag bubbles. And as you see, we achieved quite a few in this project. That's exciting if you happen to be running a development team and you want them to help to improve their security. We're currently working with a couple of large UK and European development houses who are enthusiastic about the workshops. So that's great, we have our impact. But here I want to focus on why and what we did with the third workshop, because I believe that's where research has a huge potential. And that's about this activity that we call product negotiation. To introduce it, I'll start with a story. The first company we worked with, long before the trials described in this paper, had an excellent team of developers. They had Agile to a T, some of the best Agile coaches I've encountered, and a respectable knowledge of security stuff. They did the first 2 workshops. From the threat assessment, they realized they were defending against some of the wrong threats, so they changed that. They also did some working through the OWASP Top 10 and identified quite a large number of vulnerabilities in their systems. A great outcome, hey? Well, no, because at that point, all the momentum of the security improvements came crashing to a halt. Here's what they presented to me. They had lots and lots of improvements identified, but nobody seemed to care. All the security improvements stayed in the icebox and never got implemented. That was really discouraging. They didn't feel like doing any more security stuff. They asked me which of the vulnerabilities they should fix first. Now, I've run agile development teams for years, and I knew that any decision like that is always a product management decision. Ask the product owner, I said. They said. And that way we realized that a major blocker to developers doing security wasn't lack of developer motivation. It wasn't lack of knowledge. It was time. An industry expert expressed it brilliantly at that year's OWASP conference. We thought about this a lot, and we realized that there's a huge problem in getting product owners to allocate that time. There's no ill will involved exactly, but security people speak a different language to product owners. Security people talk about risks and threats. Product owners talk about needs and benefits. So when you threaten a product owner with a risk of something bad, they have no mental model and they can't prioritize it against other requirements. So security remains the ignored Cinderella that's not allowed to come to the ball. Could we find a way to discuss security with product managers that would give better outcomes? If the negative way of thinking about security didn't work with product owners, could we do security jiu-jitsu and turn the security fixes into something positive? Well, that sounded a bit complicated. We had visions of us needing to do years of research into techniques, intensive training courses, have people specializing in software security jiu-jitsu as a career. But then we thought, we're doing agile. What's the simplest thing that could possibly work? So as a first cut, in the next set of workshops, we simply tried asking developers to work it out for themselves, without any help. And to my amazement, it worked. This paper reports how we did it with 8 different teams, and in all but one case, the teams managed to find effective ways to present security improvements to their product owners. Some were quite ingenious. A government top security development team found they could change the order of their security improvements to give better outcomes. A website maker introduced gold, silver, and bronze security as ways of representing levels of security customization to their customers. A third team queued up a list of security improvements to be introduced as new customer requirements came along. They're now implemented. I take away 2 outcomes from the experiment. The first is that teams of software developers are very bright. They don't have to be spoon-fed. Given achievable outcomes, they'll generally just achieve them somehow. Our job as empirical software researchers may often be simply to define the outcomes. The second is to wonder how much wider and deeper this concept can go. Are there other places where security can be rewritten in positive terms to motivate its acceptance? Employee cybersecurity, end-user cybersecurity, the list goes on. Finally, I should mention that everything you need to deliver the workshops, including detailed instructions, are available for free. So is an online version of the assessments. Just sign up the development team and we'll arrange questionnaires and generate security maturity reports for an entire team. We also offer train the trainer sessions every few months for a token fee. And that's how the Developer Security Essentials workshops actually work. I look forward to your questions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Developers Behavioral Session. We are here with our first author, Charles Weir. Please start sending all your questions through the chat so Charles can address them. I think we don't have a question yet, but Marvin Weirick has said, thank you for this passionate talk, very refreshing start to the conference. And several others are actually thanking Charles and his co-authors for his great presentation and video and work. Since we are waiting for people to warm up a little bit with questions, Charles, I have a question for you. Indeed, very interesting presentation and very interesting work you are doing. And I wonder if you had experience with using your workshop to support other aspects of software development apart from security. And if not, if you have been thinking about that.
These particular workshops are very much slanted at security. So they're dealing with a particular problem that this is something that is novel to everybody. I mean, the idea that security is not an all or nothing is novel. Almost every developer I come across knows perfectly well that they have to do something about security. But the idea that it's not just you either do it or you don't, but how much you do and what you have to decide, and that you've got to negotiate it, and you can make, and everything depends on whether you make those decisions right. That is quite a novelty to people, and it's not one that's been often promoted by the security world. So we're actually quite, what's the word? We're subversive, these workshops. So most of the other work I've done with people has been, actually, no, it's a very good question. Object orientation, when I first did it, when we first started doing object orientation, that was very similar. It was subversive. It was very different from what everybody was doing. And then again, early agile was the same. It was, it was a bit, we were the leading edge, and it really slightly attacked people's normal feelings of how things were. And then everybody came to understand that, yes, actually, it was better. And this feels a bit like that. So the answer is, yes, I've done it before, but I haven't used, there's no other subversive thing that I'm aware of that would really fit this kind of approach at the moment. Someone else can certainly tell me that I'm wrong. I'd be really interested.
Okay, thank you. I think we have another question on the chat here from Mauricio Anici. And Mauricio is thanking you for the presentation. He liked the approach very much. And the question is, I see that all the data was collected from interviews. How are you sure developers did not say what you wanted to hear at the end of the workshops?
Well, this was one of the problems we have. Actually, you've put your finger on it very nicely, Mauricio. It's we were worried about that. And so I was very careful not to ask the developers in our questions. The questions are available somewhere, if only in my PhD write-up. But we were very careful not to ask the developers kind of, have you improved because of this? What we said was, what are you doing? What is different? Did you enjoy the sessions? That sort of question. So that we weren't, and we then coded them afterwards to see whether people actually said, yeah, well, all of a sudden I'm doing stuff, this stuff. And indeed, one of the earlier ones, a little before the three before this particular group, there was one chap who said, yeah, well, the only thing I've been doing is a little bit of boring stuff, fixing some minor visibility issues, And I realized after he'd said that actually he hadn't twigged that the things he was fixing were the things that would have brought his company down. They seemed, as technically speaking, they were very minor issues, But if you're running a piece of planning software and the wrong person sees the things that sees the metadata or the information about what you're planning, that's the end of your reputation. So the little things that he was fixing were actually the most important security issues. So sometimes some of the information I got back from this was, yes, they're really doing the right stuff, but also sometimes, and they may not know why. And so in the later versions and in these sessions, we've been actually quite careful to emphasize more the why and having everybody understand this concept of security being a matter of choices, and which things you choose to do and which you don't. That makes sense.
Thank you, Charles. I think we have also another burning question here from Anastasia Danilova. Anastasia is asking, I wonder how often you would need to repeat the workshops. Do you think it would be necessary to repeat it after 1 year, 2 years, etc.? Time is a main issue, as you said. Did you ask the developers how often they would like to be briefed?
Yes, that's an interesting one. There are 3 bits to the workshops. I don't think doing the game a second time would be particularly interesting to most developers. It's it's a one-off lesson. Yes, security. So that's the first workshop, is a game. Yes, security is a matter of making decisions. It's not a matter of doing everything or doing nothing. So that lesson doesn't really need banging in every year. The sorts of things that people do to keep security active is something we called continuous improvement or continuous workshops. Is sort of doing something about security regularly. I think that's vital, and that we actually felt was what do we actually call it? On-the-job training, we called it. And on-the-job training was, something like that. Every 3 months or something, you do, I don't know, a workshop, find some OWASP top 10 things to talk about, find something, think about what different clients might want. But the second 2 workshops are a bit different in kind, because they are analyzing one particular product to say, what are the security implications? And in an ideal world, I would hope developers would be doing that for each new project and each major change to a project.
Thank you. We have another question from Mary. In qualitative research, some people argue that the author should explicitly describe their backgrounds and potential biases, since this may influence the outcomes. Did you consider doing this, and would double anonymous or double blind reviewing be an impediment?
Good point. Actually, no, I don't think double blind would be an impediment. I could describe my background and what I'm doing, and it would still. I always use with confidentiality stuff, when you're on confidentiality thing. I think, well, how anonymous is this? Could it, I could certainly describe myself in a way that would probably cover 20, 40 people. And I usually do it by saying, well, having 3 or 4 of those people in mind and thinking, well, could it equally be, I don't know, Tamara or so-and-so in Germany? So that, I think, would be possible. Yes, it's an interesting idea that my background and bias should have been there in the paper. I'll remember that for next time. Thank you.
We are going to be cut off soon. Just to remind people that the authors will be available in another room to clarify any other questions. So the next question that we didn't manage to ask, please go and meet the author and clarify any points later on. Thank you very much for everyone.
Look forward to talking to you.